Azul. The Dodgers are coming home tonight. Yippee! I used to love driving them. It was easily my favorite part of the job. I used to text all my friends, "Hey man, guess where I am?" On the tarmac at LAX waiting for the Dodgers plane to land. Then I'd spend the next few days tracking down everyone I could think of and telling them who I'd driven, what they'd said during the ride, what they were like in real life. God, it made me feel so special. I mean, who else do you know that gets to wait on the tarmac for the Los Angeles Dodgers plane to land and then drive one of them? Sometimes Kershaw, sometimes Greinke, sometimes Gonzalez, sometimes Mattingly. You just never know. Home. But somewhere along the line I'd become jaded. Sick of the whole routine. I mean, standing at the bottom of the ladder with a sign in my hand, aware of the holes in my shoes, aware that I bought the suit I'm wearing at a Ross dress for less 5 years ago, aware that I've missed another IRS payment, aware that each and every one of the guys coming down that ladder is a multi-millionaire. I'm also acutely aware that Liza, or that brainiac chick, who moved in next door, or any chick I'd ever met or could hope to meet in the future, would shit-can me in a heartbeat for any one of these rich, beautiful, athletic, ridiculously wealthy guys. Then there's all the wives and girlfriends coming down the ladder as well. I mean, that tax bracket comes with its own set of rewards. You never saw so many beautiful women, and somehow everyone's a generation younger than pathetic, old, lonely, old, horny old me. I mean, this one stone knockout blonde, probably all of 25, comes down the ladder and she's got a rock the size of a softball on her finger. Her skin is smooth and sun-soaked, and you can just see the privilege oozing out of her. She's got this tight, revealing tangerine sundress on with matching high heels. Then I see her husband right behind her and I quickly avert my eyes. Sometimes the players bring their kids and I see them coming down the ladder, and I imagine the privilege they're going to enjoy for their entire lives. I mean, I'll bet each and every one of those little fuckers already has a bank account bigger than mine. Not that that's saying much. In a nutshell, waiting on the tarmac for the Dodgers had gone from being the ultimate thrill to being my own private, quiet agony. It's as if just before entering the gate onto the tarmac, some cosmic psychic force has sprinkled me in a miracle grow of looseness, and by the time the Dodgers came off the plane, I was glowing in the stuff. I mean, I'm standing there on the tarmac with the entire Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team all around me, and I'm thinking I'm the most pathetic sack of shit the world has ever known. When the luggage is placed on the tarmac, the players converge and speedily gather what belongs to them. There's Chase Utley. He's got his bag and is ready to go. He walks right past me, I mean within inches. He's taller than me, stronger than me. 15 years my junior. A strikingly handsome man in the prime of his life, making what, 16 mil a year? And then there's you, Rob, you pathetic sack of shit, who buys sandpaper disguised as toilet paper from the 99-cent store because that's all you can afford. And Christ, is my asshole sore. Look, there's Kenley Jansen getting his luggage. Kenley's only making 3 or 4 mil a year, but he's up for a contract pretty soon, so that should be jumping up to the mid-teens per annum real soon. And then there's you, Rob, you worthless has-been wannabe writer, who can't even get an article published, let alone a book. Look, there's Corey Seager. Corey's only making the minimum, $765,000 a year, because he just got called up from the minors. But he'll probably be making at least 10 mil a year in no time. Plus look at how tall and handsome he is. I mean, if he weren't one of the greatest young baseball players on earth, he'd probably be on the cover of GQ. He's just that sickeningly handsome. And then there's you, Rob. Why don't you just jump off a goddamned fucking bridge? What makes picking up the Dodgers even more enjoyable is this crusty old know-it-all driver named Armando. Armando has been with LA Limousine longer than anyone, and has long since taken it upon himself to act as mother hen whenever a bunch of us drivers are gathered together. Armando has ZERO authority, and isn't very imposing either. He's more like a cross between a mosquito and a rat than anything else. A mosquito in the sense that he'll come over to you while you're taking a nap in your car, and knock on the window and wake you up so that he can go over the pickup procedures with you, even though you've done the job 1,000 times. Armando's rat-like qualities are far more serious. Let's say the Dodgers are landing in 3 hours, and you've marked yourself on location at the airport even though you're home, just 20 minutes away watching TV. Armando will be the first one there, and he'll call dispatch and let them know that you're not there. You could get suspended or even fired for that. And the thing is, the Dodgers usually come home from a road trip in the wee hours of the morning, which means the overnight dispatch crew is on duty, and those guys don't want any hassles. They usually spend their shift playing cards, watching movies, and taking naps. But if Armando calls and drops a dime on you, they gotta act, and they can get pissy after just being robbed of their beauty sleep. The Dodgers plane lands at a remote location way in the back of the airport, far from the maddening crowd, as it were. There's this giant iron gate right next to a guard shack, and before you enter to stage on the tarmac, the guards get all your personal information. Then you have to pop the hood and the trunk and open all the doors so they can do a thorough search of your vehicle. Not exactly sure what they're looking for, and based on the quality of personnel conducting the search, I doubt they'd find it anyway. I mean, the guards are almost always these sloppy-looking third-world refugees in disheveled uniforms who speak in thick, barely legible third-world accents and look like they've just woken up from a nap as well. You find out who you'll be driving just hours before the pickup. I've driven Clayton Kershaw, Chase Utley, Mark McGwire, Matt Kemp, Carl Crawford, J.P. Howell, and Jock Pedersen, to name a few. The first time I drove Clayton Kershaw, I actually drove over to my Dodger-obsessed friend Ray's apartment to show him the job order. In fact, I stapled the 20 Clayton, tipped me to the job order, and put it in a frame. It's hanging on my wall. I'd even considered leading top-secret sorties past his house at 20 a pop. I could just see myself stuffing my old beater with a bunch of my friends, all of us with Dodger pennants and those big giant blue fingers with number 1 on them. Just so we're clear, it was only an idea. Anyway, Clayton's a Dallas native, and the Cowboys were playing the Giants, my team, on Sunday Night Football that night. I was listening to it on the radio. The Giants were killing 'em when the plane landed. I went out to greet Clayton and help him with his luggage, and as soon as we got in the car, he called his wife and checked in on her. During the conversation, he asked if she was watching the Cowboys, and she gave him an update. When he got off the phone with her, I asked if he wanted to listen to the game on the radio. "If that's okay with you," was exactly what he said. I mean, how polite is that? Up until that time, I still really loved baseball, and the fact that I was driving Clayton Kershaw was a truly special thing. I mean, I really wanted to sneak peeks through the rear view at him, but I just couldn't risk it. How weird would it be if I looked back at him and he was looking right at me? Darned if the Giants didn't implode and wrest defeat from the jaws of victory that night. I think Dallas scored 3 touchdowns from the time we left the airport to the time we got to Clayton's house, but he never made a sound the whole time. When we got to his house, I got out, popped the trunk, and got his bag for him. He was already out of the car and standing there waiting for me. He's a big dude, much bigger than he looks on TV. I gave him his bag, and he handed me a Jackson, said thanks, and extended his hand. That's right. I shook Clayton Kershaw's hand, and that Jackson he gave me is the Jackson I framed and hung on my wall. Before I go any further, I want to tell you about a funny incident that happened the night I drove Mark McGwire. Now, in case you don't know, Mark McGwire is an enormous human being. I mean, he's got to be 6 feet 6 inches, 250 pounds. He looks more like an NFL lineman than he does a baseball player. Mark, in case you're not a baseball fan, also has a very prominent, perhaps ominous is now a better word, place in Major League Baseball history. In 1998, he smashed Roger Maris's record for home runs in a single season. And not to go all baseball history on you, but in 1961, Maris eclipsed Babe Ruth's long-standing record of 60 by hitting his 61st home run of the year on the last day of the season. Then in 1998, McGwire and Sammy Sosa both shattered Maris's mark, and in an unforgettable race to the wire, McGwire finished with 71 and Sosa with 66. A couple of years later, the steroid scandal broke, and it became common knowledge that a great number of major league players were taking illegal substances that gave them an unfair advantage and also permanently skewed the record books. McGwire was at the center of this controversy and was even called to Washington, D.C. to testify before Congress about his involvement. That's some serious shit. Anyway, before the Dodgers plane lands, we go through the security checkpoints I've mentioned, and each limo is escorted to a waiting place about 50 yards from where the plane will taxi. There are usually 3 rows of cars by the time everyone is on the tarmac and staged for pickup. 3 rows of black vehicles. A few Escalades, a couple of Suburbans and Navigators, a Mercedes or 2, and the rest, a limousine's workhorse car, the Lincoln MKT, which kinda looks like a mini SUV. That night, there were probably 15 MKTs all crammed together. The plane landed and taxied to a spot, and all the drivers walked toward the plane, holding a name sign in their hand. Obviously, I know who Maguire is, and I see him and he acknowledges me. He's got 2 bags. I get one and he grabs the other and follows me back to the cars. But for the life of me, I forgot which one was mine. I mean, they all look identical, and I totally forgot to notice where I'd parked, or make a note of my license plate either. God, the pressure I felt. I mean, Mark Maguire is a few feet behind me, and he's been traveling all night long, and he wants to get in the fucking car and go home already. I kept pressing the hatch button on the key, and it kept beeping, but I still couldn't tell where our car was, and Maguire was starting to get pissed. "Come on, dude. Seriously," he said, just as I solved the mystery. "Sorry about that," I said as I loaded the 2 bags in the trunk. "No problem," he answered. So we start heading down to his house in Orange County. He gets on the phone and starts talking to his wife, and then to one of his sons. He talked about the game they'd won that night, and mentioned Justin Turner hitting a home run and what a great kid he was. We made pretty good time, and Mark seemed pleased with the service despite the rocky start. We pulled up to his house, which was this unbelievably sprawling mansion that no one should be rich enough to own. So we pull up in the circular driveway, and I get out to get his bags, and I'm thinking he's definitely gonna take care of me because my friends have driven him, and he's always taken care of them. I mean, I'm thinking it's a guaranteed 40. Okay, luggage out of car. Maguire standing right there in front of me. "Thanks," he says. "No tip. You gotta be kidding." "Why? 'Cause I couldn't find the car." "You miserable, cheating son of a bitch." Fortunately, I'm thinking these things and not saying them out loud. But just as I'm getting back behind the wheel, I mutter, "Cheap bastard." Then I realize that the passenger side window is open, and Maguire is still there, and he's looking right at me, and he looks kinda pissed. Yup, think he heard me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. But here's the kicker. There's 2 Jacksons resting on the console. God, I never felt so stupid. Later on, I talked to Manny, the guy who usually drives Maguire. "Oh yeah," he tells me, "Maguire always leaves the tip when you're getting out of the car." Tonight, I'm driving Jock Pedersen. It's his 2nd season in the big leagues. He was being touted as the next Mickey Mantle right up until the time he made the show. Pedersen's a really nice-looking blonde-haired kid, athletically built, a spectacular prospect who continues to show flashes of brilliance, but has not come close to the promise that he was saddled with when the Dodgers called him up. I'd driven him once before, and it was one of the most memorable runs I ever did. The Dodgers were finishing up a homestand, and he and fellow Bay Area native, J.P. Howell, a Dodgers relief pitcher, decided to drive up to San Francisco, where the club would be starting a road trip against the Giants. As a lifelong baseball maniac, what a thrill it was to wait in the Dodgers players' parking lot for the game to end, and then when it was over, spend 6 hours in a car with these 2 guys. You should have heard them banging on Yasiel Puig, the Cuban-born phenom, who, a year earlier, enjoyed almost messianic status when he came up from the minor leagues and infused the Dodgers' season-long anemia by hitting majestic home runs, running the bases with reckless abandon, and making stellar catches and throws from the outfield. Not sure exactly what happened, but in a few months' time, Puig had gone from messiah to pariah amongst the fans, the media, and the players alike. Based on what I've heard from driving Dodger players, the general consensus among them is that Puig is an a-hole. Still, I wonder if it isn't just a cultural thing. I wonder if with a little more love and a little more tolerance from his teammates, Puig would be just fine. Maybe I just go to too many 12-step meetings, though. Anyway, Pedersen and Howell voiced the sentiment that every player is allotted a general number of fuck-ups, but that Puig had long since exceeded that number. I was going to chime in with my love and tolerance concept, but decided against it. On the flip side, Jock and JP were huge fans of Zach Greinke, going so far as to say they'd take him over Kershaw in a 7th game situation. "Yeah, but he always stiffs the driver," I muttered inaudibly. JP got out at a house in San Jose. He tipped me 20, as he always does. Thanks, Rob, he said as he shook my hand. Typical Howell. He's one of the most pleasant, outgoing people I've ever driven. All the Ella limousine drivers love him. Jock lives in Palo Alto. I dropped him off at his parents' house on a cul-de-sac in a typical-looking middle-class neighborhood. What transpired was an unforgettably sweet moment that I only wish the entire world could have witnessed. I mean, we pull up and I pop the trunk to get Jock's luggage. As he gets out and puts his backpack on his shoulders, a screen door opens and a woman stands in the doorway. I give Jock his stuff and he starts walking toward her. "Hi, Mom," he says. The woman opens her arms, and Jock Pedersen, Major League Baseball superstar, the next Mickey Mantle, lays his head on his mother's shoulder as she wraps her arms around him and kisses the side of his face. Then the two disappear inside the house. Maybe you had to be there, but that for me was one of the most beautiful moments in human history. Oh yeah, before I forget, Jock tipped me 20.